it's probably not too troublesome of a question. We'll just say it's from Canada. I won't say who or from what province. It could be anywhere, and it might not be just government. But the question says, to influence change in a hierarchical organization like government, so I guess there we could say like hospitals, like businesses. Here's the important part of the question, I think, though. Where in the org chart should the continuous improvement team sit? I have some very strong opinions about this, and I think it comes from seeing organizations that have been most successful with Lean, where the head of, where they call it a continuous improvement office, the Kaizen promotion office, the Lean promotion office, that office basically reports right to the executive team. And I think it's important to have a seat at the table. Greg, we're getting some echo here. Not sure.
I'm going to go off and on and see if that.
Okay, I'll keep babbling while Greg does that. Sorry while we pull the and-on cord. I think if Lean or continuous improvement gets delegated too far down in the organization, it sends a signal that it's just not that important, that it's not that strategic. So I think to have even a VP level of performance improvement, if they're not directly reporting to the COO or the CEO, they should have a seat at the table in executive reviews. I think they should be a de facto member of the executive team, if I'm using the term right. If they're not formally on the executive team, I think they should be.
I'm going to give a funny answer and then a real analogy. The funny answer is they should sit in the gemba. You see what I mean?
Well, sure. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Yes,
right.
so we're
not saying where their office should be.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. That was the first thing that came to my mind. The analogy I look at is emergency medicine as a specialty is actually one of the youngest specialties in medicine. In fact, prior to 1977, there was no such thing as a emergency medicine doctor. I mean, people would moonlight in the emergency room. If most people would go see their own patients when they presented to the emergency room.
It was a branch of surgery, wasn't it?
Well, and so only about 1980s did they start kind of producing in numbers. But probably in 1980 there may have been, I don't know, 20 or 50 emergency medicine doctors. But initially, emergency departments actually sat under the surgical department, and so what it ended up creating, though, was a very particular brand of emergency medicine, number one, but number two, it became not its own, independent thought leader in a medical center, but kind of subservient to, whatever the surgeon's whims were. And what you ended up seeing throughout the 80s and 90s is the emergency departments getting taken out of being underneath the surgical departments and becoming their own department. And kind of coming to. And so I think that's a really great analogy that if you're really going to enact change and really have a big influence in an organization, the more directly and the closer you can be sitting and reporting and or a part of the C-suite, if you will, the better off that department's going to be.
Yeah. And I think, there's another question unasked here is the role of that continuous improvement team over time. I think as we move from Lean or continuous improvement, starting off inevitably as a program with specific ownership, and I think, again, that ownership really comes from the CEO with somebody having daily responsibility for it. Over time, hopefully it becomes more of just how we manage around here, the way we do things around here. So the role of a central group may change, the size of it may physically shrink, but I think even at Toyota, which arguably, as much as anybody would say, this is just the way we do things around here, Toyota still has a central team that sort of maintains standards for training and sort of maintaining the source of what the Toyota production system is. So that team, continuous improvement team certainly shouldn't be driving all improvement themselves, but I think they play the role of helping build the culture, build capabilities, in the organization, and over time, like any even outside consultant like myself, you better work your way out of a role, otherwise you're not really accomplishing anything.
Right. No. Kind of hearing our conversation leads me, once again, I'm going to kind of go a little off topic but related. We've now had the opportunity, Mark, at KaiNexus to work with, let's say upwards of 50, 60 companies, and we've learned a ton with these companies. And one of the things that I recall about a year or two ago, we were working with one of our customers who was really struggling kind of getting the ball moving, starting the initial effort, sustaining the initial effort. Small company, 150 employees, and we at one point kind of stepped back and realized, there's actually not a Kaizen promotion office or a single individual that was responsible for doing continuous improvement. And in the larger kind of organization, it'd be like, oh, well, if you have a 10,000 person organization, having an office that's responsible for standards, like you were saying with Toyota, you find it being a critical thing for organizations that are going to be successful with this type of work. And so it was just a really kind of eye-opening, because you always think, oh, well, everyone should be responsible for improvement. And that's 100% true. That office or that person in a smaller organization isn't doing the improvement work. What they're doing is they're enabling other people to do the improvement work. But I'm happy to report that customer has actually hired a continuous improvement person to help really kind of be the drive to kind of, I imagine them like holding the little flag and kind of walking in, touring, saying, come on, let's go, we're going to do it this way. And so I think that's a really exciting kind of observation that I think doesn't really matter the size of the organization. Having someone that's what they're thinking about and what they're doing 24/7 is a critical component. But of course, making sure that they're not doing the improvement work, but they're enabling the improvement.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and it makes me think of a related quote from W. Edwards Deming that sometimes gets thrown around, maybe a bit inappropriately. People will quote Deming and saying, quality is everyone's responsibility. Like, well, it is, but Deming also said quality starts in the boardroom. And if you don't have the right executive mindsets, if you don't have the right culture and structure and systems for quality, you can't just tell everyone, hey, you're responsible for quality if they're trying to do good work in a bad system. So I think we have to be careful. We can't just dump responsibility on staff, but executives aren't going to do it all themselves. It requires balance and everyone working together.
And I think it's, I'm once again going to just take it and kind of sidestep and keep going with this, because I think we could probably banter on this a lot. But in my kind of view of the observations I made with organizations that are doing this really well. So let's say there's a 1 to 500 or 1 to 1,000. It doesn't really matter what the number is. People that are focused on improvement compared to employees. The other thing is, and they're enabling. We're using that term. They're enabling improvement to happen. What we also find is in every location or department, there are some people that are going to really be kind of the local spokesperson. So it's kind of like the continuous improvement specialist, if you will, is coaching a local leader, and that leader is really helping to enable the improvement to happen. So in many ways, my joke wasn't completely off base by saying they should be in the gemba, because there really should be kind of improvement experts spread all throughout every department that are really working intimately with the continuous improvement experts. So.